Welcome to the Super Brain. Thanks for coming. We've had a really good turnout. It's a lovely day. Today is more about doing than talking. It's not going to be a day of presentations. It's going to be a day of activities that we're going to use to create a good practice process for landscape scale conservation.
The farm policy, the agricultural policy is saying something, and conservation policies is saying something else. And people are not discussing in between them, the advisors or the administrators, and therefore the conflict is put on the farmer to follow one line or another line.
So my vision of landscape scale conservation is really that we will move beyond thinking about landscape scale as just a scale and thinking about landscape as a whole, so thinking about nature, culture and the way that they interact.
If you look at the map of the Natura 2000 sites, there's a huge number of them. Many of them are small, and many of them are isolated. So here's a challenge at a European scale. How many Natura 2000 sites could we join up with proper corridors?
So what do I see as the future for landscape scale conservation? For me, it's all about how much space can we give nature, how can we integrate nature with the way we're living now, and how can we start to use nature and natural processes to help solve some of the problems that we're facing, that humans are facing as well, and add value to our existing communities.
I mean, today's been a really good day. It's been a really good chance to talk through some of the issues to do with landscape scale conservation. I come down from Scotland, from the Cairngorms National Park Authority, and we've got massive opportunities there, 4,500 square kilometres, which are just open for landscape scale conservation. But I think one of the biggest challenges we have, and it's been highlighted today, is we've got all these brilliant people here today who are all really sold on the idea, but there's millions of people out there who we also need to convince that this is a really important idea. And I think that's the one challenge I really would like to see us address, is to sell this to more people.
Many groups mentioned that this is about being able to connect with communities, being able to inspire local communities and bring them with you, and this will then help you sustain landscape scale conservation.
You try standing in front of a minister, explaining to them why what we do is important, and if it's rescuing some obscure ground beetle, they're not interested. But if you can demonstrate to a minister that this stuff is good for wildlife and people, you get traction.
Hi, well, I'm Peter Nixon from the National Trust, and my job involves an overview of our approach to landscape and to nature throughout the whole of the National Trust properties. Today's been brilliant in terms of joining up the dots, and you might ask the question, what is landscape scale and landscape scale thinking? It is absolutely a state of mind. So today we've been really focusing on nature and reconnecting nature, which requires scale, it requires size, but it's also about reconnecting people with nature.
In some ways, the ideal future is people like me not having a job anymore because we don't need it, because the local communities in these landscapes are engaged, landowners know what they've got to do for wildlife, government knows what they've got to do, policymakers know what they've got to do, and ultimately the future is we need to save nature. If we don't act now and make these big changes and have these big visions, we're going to have no impact whatsoever, and so we need to use the information gathered today, use the people, use the super brain, and actually take that forward and make that difference for nature.
I think today's been exactly the way we were hoping it would go. You know, to get people together and try and think about being a super brain. 3,000 years worth of experience, at least in that room today, and I think we've extracted an awful lot from them. We've now going to analyse that and get into the detail. There's a lot of really amazing ideas in there, I think, and we're going to pull them out. And not only that, I think this notion of a movement, can we really create a grassroots movement that allows us to do landscape scale conservation across the whole of the UK and beyond into Europe, and really work together and learn from each other? I think that's important.
There's a lot of discourse which point in the good direction, but we need to focus more on practices and less on discourses. And we need to be creating knowledge together. So for changing these paradigms, and I think that's the objective of today, put people together.
So the future of landscape conservation, if we're going to be really ambitious, is not just, or even in some cases even, with a step change in more, bigger, better and joint nature reserves, but in winning hearts and minds that allow people and wildlife to live together at a bigger scale than we currently do.